My daughter, Hannah, called me a burden while I sat on a plastic chair in her garage, clutching a lottery ticket worth $50 million in my purse. She slammed her hand on the workbench and told me to stop being so dependent. That's when I decided to vanish entirely and let them believe I'd lost everything. If you're watching this, subscribe and tell me where you're tuning in from. But let me rewind and explain how I ended up in that chilly garage, feeling like a discarded piece of furniture. It was a crisp Tuesday morning in October when I bought the ticket at Kwan's Market, just as I had every week for the past decade. Suki Kwan handed me my usual Powerball ticket with my late husband's birthday numbers, flashing a warm smile. "Feeling lucky today, Mira?" she asked. I chuckled and gave my usual reply. "If I win, you'll hear it first." 3 days later, alone in my kitchen, the numbers were announced. I checked once, then again, and nearly dropped the ticket from my trembling hands. Every number matched. $50 million. Even after taxes, it was more money than I'd ever imagined. At 72, I'd outlived most of my dreams. But this was something else. My first thought was to call my daughter Hannah, but something stopped me. Maybe it was how she'd been treating me lately, always short-tempered, acting like I was a chore. Or maybe it was how my other daughter, Lonnie, kept nudging me to sell my house and move into one of those vibrant senior communities, as if 72 meant I was too old to live my own life. I tucked the ticket into my purse and made a choice that would change everything. I wouldn't tell a soul. Not yet. I wanted to test how my family truly saw me when they thought I had nothing to offer. The chance came quickly. That week, a property tax bill arrived, steeper than usual because of a new assessment. I could have paid it easily with my savings, but I had a better plan. I called Hannah and asked to borrow $2,000. $2,000? Her tone turned icy. "Mom, what did you spend your money on this time?" I explained the taxes were higher than expected, and I just needed a little help until next month. Silence hung on the line. "Mom, you can't keep living like this. Maybe it's time to downsize," I pushed, making my voice frail. "I hate asking, but I'm stuck." "Just this once?" She sighed. "Let me talk to Riku. We'll call you back." She didn't. 3 days later, I called Lonnie. Her response cut deeper. "Mom, Hannah told me about the taxes." "Honestly, we've been worried about how you handle money for a while. Maybe this is a sign I kept my voice soft. I'm not asking for a handout, just a short-term loan." "But it's never just one time, is it?" she snapped. "The roof, the furnace, now this. That house is bleeding you dry that weekend," Hannah called. "Mom, we need to talk. Can you come over Sunday?" Standing in her driveway, staring at her flawless house with its manicured lawn, I wondered what kind of test I'd set for myself. Sunday afternoon, I sat in Hannah's spotless living room as she and Riku exchanged knowing glances. Their home was stunning. Gleaming countertops, custom shelving, probably $200,000 in upgrades. The irony wasn't lost on me that I was begging for $2,000 while holding a ticket worth millions. "Mom," Hannah started, her tone dripping with condescension, "we're worried about you." Riku nodded, his face a mask of pity. "We think you're in denial about your finances." I gripped my purse, feeling the ticket inside. "What do you mean?" "The constant money issues," Hannah said. "First the roof, then the furnace, now taxes." "You're clearly in over your head." I wanted to laugh. If only they knew I could buy their house outright and still have millions left. Instead, I shrank my voice. "I've managed fine for 45 years in that house." "That's the problem, Mom," Hannah said. "You're not managing." "It's only going to get harder as you age." Riku leaned in, his concern rehearsed. We've researched some great senior living options. No more worrying about upkeep or taxes. You want me to sell my home? The house where I'd raised my girls, where Cale and I had shared 40 happy years before cancer took him. We want you to be practical, Hannah said sharply. You're 72. How long can you handle a big house and yard? I searched her face for the little girl who'd once made pillow forts in that same living room. All I saw was impatience, maybe even calculation. What about the $2,000 for taxes? I asked softly. Hannah and Riku traded another look. Mom, we can't keep enabling your bad financial choices, Hannah said. If we help now, you'll just be in the same mess next year. So you won't help. We're helping you long term, Riku said smoothly. Sometimes tough love is best. I sat there, absorbing their rejection. My own daughter, who I'd put through college, whose kids I'd watched every weekend, whose down payment I'd helped with for this very house, wouldn't spare $2,000. I understand, I said, standing. I should go. Mom, don't be like that, Hannah called, but she didn't stop me as I walked out. Driving home, I decided to push this test further. I wanted to see how far their concern for me would go when they thought I was truly desperate. The next morning, I called Lonnie and told her Hannah couldn't help with the taxes. Her reply was sharp. Maybe this is the wake-up call you need, Mom. We can't keep bailing you out of your bad decisions. That afternoon, I visited Kwan's Market and quietly arranged to claim the ticket through a trust, keeping my name private for now. The money was there when I needed it, but first, I had more to learn. The next 3 weeks felt like watching predators circle a wounded animal. Word of my financial troubles spread fast, and suddenly, everyone had advice on how I should live. My sister-in-law, Nori, called to suggest a cozy studio in her building. Perfect for someone in your situation, Mira. Affordable. No maintenance worries. My nephew Taro dropped by, offering to help with my finances. He spent an awkward hour probing about my savings and suggesting a reverse mortgage. But the family dinner at Lonnie's house was the real eye-opener. She'd invited everyone, Hana and Riku, her husband Kenji, even my brother Soma and his wife Yuna. It was supposedly to celebrate Kenji's promotion, but I quickly realized I was the main topic. So, Mom, Lonnie said over dessert, have you thought more about downsizing? The table went quiet, all eyes on me, their expressions a mix of pity and irritation. I'm still weighing my options, I said carefully. What options? Riku asked with a smirk. You can't afford those taxes. Maybe it's time to face facts, Soma jumped in. You're not getting younger, Mira. That house is becoming a burden. There it was again, burden. Like I was a weight, dragging them down. The market's still strong, Kenji added. You could get a good price if you list soon. I looked at my family, my daughters, my brother, people I'd loved and sacrificed for, and saw relief in their eyes. Relief that my crisis gave them permission to voice what they'd apparently thought all along. I was too much trouble, too costly, too inconvenient. You're probably right, I said slowly. Maybe I should sell. The room exhaled. Lonnie smiled. That's wise, Mom, Hana said. We'll help you find something suitable, something more appropriate. Appropriate, as if my home of 45 years was unfit for a woman my age. After dinner, I overheard Riku whispering to Lonnie in the kitchen. Thank God she's finally seeing reason. I'm so done with her money drama. I know, El Pandey replied. That house is too much for her anyway. She'll be better off somewhere smaller I left without a goodbye. That night, in my kitchen, the one where I'd cooked countless meals for these ungrateful people, I planned my next move. If they saw me as a burden, I'd show them what a burden really looked like. but I was also starting to see something else. This test wasn't just exposing their greed. It was revealing how little they trusted my intelligence, my competence, my right to choose my own path. I began small. I accidentally bounced a check at the grocery store and called Hannah for help. She sighed and asked why I couldn't just manage my account better. Then I showed up at Lonnie's house claiming my car wouldn't start, and I needed a ride to the doctor. "Mom, this is exactly what we've been saying," she said, reluctantly driving me across town. "You're becoming too reliant. What happens when we can't just drop everything to help?" The irony was rich. I'd never been less reliant in my life, with $50 million sitting in a secure account, gathering interest. Yet here I was, pretending to depend on my daughters for basic needs. The real test came when I called Hannah, claiming I'd slipped in my kitchen and hurt my back. Not badly, I assured her, but enough that I was uneasy being alone. Could I stay with them for a few days? The silence on the phone was heavy. "Mom, this really isn't a good time," she finally said. "Riku's parents are visiting next week and we don't have the space." "I could sleep on the couch," I offered, letting my voice quiver. "That's not suitable for someone your age with a back injury," she replied. "Look, I'll call doctor Chen and see if he can prescribe something for the pain." She'd rather medicate me than offer her guest room, the same room that had hosted Riku's old college buddies, their out-of-town neighbors, even their dog trainer when she needed a place to crash. "Never mind," I said softly. "I'll figure it out." "Mom, don't be dramatic." "You're stronger than you think strong, huh?" I was strong enough to raise 2 daughters alone after their father left, strong enough to pull double shifts as a nurse to fund their college, strong enough to care for Kyle through his cancer while keeping our home together. But heaven forbid I need a bed when I'm hurt. That evening, my doorbell rang. It was Mrs. Sato from next door, holding a steaming dish of katsu curry. "Mira, I noticed your car hasn't moved all day, and I got worried." "You okay?" Without thinking, I told her about my fall and back pain. Her face filled with genuine worry. "Oh, you poor thing. You shouldn't be alone. Come stay with Kenzo and me until you're better. We've got a comfy futon in the guest room." I stared at this woman, someone I knew only from neighborly chats, and shared mochi at New Year's, offering what my own daughters wouldn't. "That's kind, but I couldn't impose." "Nonsense," she said firmly. "Kenzo will grab your bag right now. Family looks out for family, and you've been like family since Kyle passed." As Kenzo helped me carry an overnight bag to their house, it hit me. These near strangers showed more care in one evening than my daughters had in months. But the Satos' kindness was just the beginning. The next evening, Mrs. Sato answered the phone when Lonnie called, wondering why I wasn't picking up at home. From the guest room, I overheard her explain I was staying with them because of my injury. "Staying with you?" Lonnie's voice carried across the room. "Why would she do that?" "Because the poor dear was hurt and alone," Mrs. Sato replied, her tone sharp from raising 5 kids. "Her family wasn't available to help." A pause. "We appreciate you looking after her," Lonnie said, "but she should have called us first." "She did call," Mrs. Sato said coolly. "Apparently it wasn't convenient." After hanging up, Mrs. Sato came to the guest room, shaking her head. "That daughter of yours sounded more irritated than worried." "Did she even understand you were hurt?" "Oh, she understood," I said, bitterness creeping in. "Well, you stay as long as you need," she said. "Kenzo and I love having you." And they did. For 3 days, they treated me like their own. Mrs. Sato made my favorite miso soup without me asking. Kenzo fixed a creaky step on my porch I'd mentioned offhand. They included me in their evening shogi games and listened intently when I shared stories about Kaysel or my nursing days. On the third day, as I helped Mrs. Sato with the dishes, despite her protests about my injury, tears welled up. "What's wrong, dear?" she asked, setting down her sponge. "Nothing's wrong," I said, voice thick. "That's the thing. I can't remember the last time anyone cared for me like this, made me feel like I mattered." She turned to me, her eyes steady. "Mira, I don't know what's going on with your daughters, but you matter. You matter to Kenzo and me, and you should matter to them." That evening, Lonnie showed up. She stood in the Satos' living room, eyeing their cozy, lived-in furniture with thinly veiled disdain, as if it offended her. "Mom, this has gone on long enough. You need to come home. I've been very comfortable here," I said from the couch, where Kenzo and I were watching a documentary. Mrs. Sato stood, all 5 feet of her brimming with quiet fury. "Listen here, young lady. Your mother isn't imposing. She's a joy to have, and she's welcome as long as she likes." Lonnie's cheeks reddened. "With all due respect, Mrs. Sato, this is a family matter." "You're right," Mrs. Sato shot back. "It is. So why wasn't her family there when she needed them?" The silence was thick. I watched Lonnie fumble for a response that wouldn't expose her for what she was, a daughter too self-absorbed to care for her injured mother. "We had commitments," she mumbled. "So did we," Kenzo said quietly from his armchair. "But some things matter more." Lonnie left without another word, her parting glance promising a later reckoning. The next morning, I woke to voices in the kitchen. Mrs. Sato was speaking to someone, a man's voice responding. Emerging from the guest room, I found a stranger at their table, a tall, silver-haired man in a sharp suit who stood when he saw me. "Mrs. Takahashi," he said. "I'm Jiro Matsuda, an attorney. We need to talk." Jiro had warm eyes behind sleek glasses and a calm presence that put me at ease, but his news was about to flip my test on its head. "Mrs. Takahashi, I represent the estate of Aiko Yamada. I believe you knew her as Aiko from St. Luke's Hospital." My heart stopped. Aiko, my dear friend and mentor from my early nursing days, had passed 6 months ago. I'd missed her funeral because Lonnie insisted I attend her company gala instead. "Yes, I knew Aiko," I said. "She was incredible. But why are you here?" Jiro smiled softly. "Aiko left you something in her will. She often spoke of you as the daughter she never had. She wanted to ensure you were cared for." Mrs. Sato gasped. "How wonderful!" "What did she leave?" I asked, my mind spinning. This could tangle my lottery test in ways I hadn't foreseen. Jiro opened his briefcase and slid a thick envelope across the table. $250,000 and her beachside cottage in Clearwater, Florida. It's fully paid off, a lovely place near the shore where she retired. She remembered you dreaming of living by the ocean. I stared, speechless. Just when I thought I had my plan mapped out, testing my family's true colors, life threw me this curveball. "There's more," Jiro continued. "Aiko insisted the inheritance stay confidential until her estate was settled. She worried people might treat you differently if they knew too soon. She said she wanted you to see their true intentions. First, even from beyond. Aiko was guarding me, giving me a chance I hadn't expected." "When do I need to decide about the cottage?" I asked. "No hurry," Jiro said. "You can visit, see if it feels right, or sell it if you'd rather. It's worth a good amount in today's market. But, Mrs. Takahashi, there's something else Aiko wanted me to tell you personally." He leaned forward, his tone grave. "She said if anyone in your family pressures you about this inheritance, tries to make decisions for you, or treats you like you can't manage your own affairs, remind you that you have choices. You don't owe anyone your financial details or control over your life." Mrs. Sato squeezed my hand. That Aiko was wise. My phone buzzed with a text from Hana. Mom, we need to talk about your living situation. Lunch tomorrow? Time to make decisions. I showed it to Jiro, who raised an eyebrow. Interesting timing. What would Aiko say? I thought of my friend who worked until 78, not out of need, but passion, who traveled to 7 continents post-retirement, who never let anyone call her too old or too frail. She'd say it's time I stop letting others dictate my life, I said quietly. And you? I looked around Mrs. Sato's cozy kitchen, thought of the lottery ticket that sparked this test, and felt Aiko's gift shift something in me. My experiment was growing into something bigger. I say it's time my family learned some truths, but not all of them. Not yet, Jiro smiled. Aiko would like that. Shall I start the paperwork for the cottage deed? I nodded, already planning tomorrow's lunch. I arrived at the restaurant 15 minutes early, choosing a window table where everyone could see us. When Hana and Lani walked in with Riku and Kenji trailing, they looked like a council ready to issue a verdict. Perfect. Mom, thanks for coming, Hana said as they sat. We've been talking about your situation and it's time for some hard choices. I sipped my jasmine tea calmly. What kind of choices? Riku opened a folder. We've found some great senior communities nearby, lovely places with activities and dining plans, far better than you rattling around in that big house alone. The Sato situation showed us how fragile you are, Lani added. What if something worse had happened? What if they weren't home? I nodded thoughtfully. You're right. I could have been in trouble. But before we go further, I have something to tell you. Hana leaned forward, likely expecting more financial woes. I inherited some money, I said plainly. Riku blinked. From who? My friend Aiko Yamada. She left me her cottage in Florida and $250,000. Silence gripped the table. I could almost hear their mental gears grinding. $250,000? Lani repeated slowly. Plus the cottage. It's worth about $300,000 per the market appraisal. Hana's face flickered through confusion, relief, and something like calculation. Mom, that's great, but this changes everything, she said. You need professional guidance now. Financial advisors, estate planners, Riku added quickly. People who know how to safeguard assets. You could be a target for scams. Lani nodded. With that kind of money, Mom, you have to be careful. Maybe we should meet with a lawyer together. In 24 hours, I'd gone from a burden to a vulnerable senior needing their protection. I'm thinking of moving to Florida, I said quietly. Moving? Hana's voice sharpened. Mom, that's the kind of rash decision we're worried about. You can't just upend your life over some inheritance. It's not rash, I said. I've always wanted to live by the sea. But you don't know anyone there, Lani protested. What if you get sick? Kenji leaned in. Plus, there are legal issues. Florida's estate laws are different. You'd need to transfer everything properly, set up new banking. It's complex. I noted how fast the talk shifted from my well-being to logistics, telling. I have time to sort it out, I said. Do you? Riku asked. Inheritances have deadlines, tax issues. You shouldn't make big moves without consulting us first. Us? As if my inheritance was their group project. Hana patted my hand. Mom, we just want to keep you safe. Why not give us power of attorney, just temporarily, until we line up the right advice? There it was, the real play. Power of attorney. I kept my tone even. Just to help with the paperwork, Lani said quickly. You know how tricky financial stuff is. We can handle the boring legal bit so you don't have to stress. I studied their practiced concern, such devoted daughters, shielding me from the burden of my own wealth. That's thoughtful, I said, standing. I'll think about it. Don't wait too long, Mom, Hannah said. These things are time-sensitive. As I walked to my car, I heard them through the restaurant window, already plotting my protection. 3 days later, Lonnie showed up at my door with a man in a sharp suit, a briefcase full of papers in hand. Lonnie stepped into my living room with a man in tow. Mom, this is Kenzo Hayashi, an elder law attorney, specializing in estate protection. I thought you should meet him. I invited them in, intrigued to see how far this would go. Mrs. Takahashi, Kenzo said with polished warmth, your daughter is smart to seek expert advice. Sudden wealth can be daunting, especially for seniors. I'm managing fine so far, I replied. Of course, he said. But there are risks. Scammers, bad investments, even well-intentioned friends who might take advantage. He opened his briefcase. I've prepared some protective documents. Nothing major, just safeguards. Lonnie sat beside me on the couch. Mom, Kenzo explained how people target recent inheritors, especially older women living alone. What kind of safeguards? I asked. Kenzo spread papers across my coffee table. A revocable trust to secure the assets, updated power of attorney, medical directives, standard protections for your situation. That phrase again. My situation. And who'd manage this trust? I asked. Typically, family members act as trustees, he said. Your daughters could handle daily management while you retain full benefits and control. I picked up a document, scanning the fine print. Buried in the text was language giving Hannah and Lonnie authority over major financial decisions. Very thorough, I said. But there's something else you should know. Lonnie and Kenzo leaned in. I reached into my purse and placed the lottery ticket on the table next to his papers. I also won the lottery. $50 million. The silence was heavy. Kenzo's pen froze. Lonnie's face drained of color. $50 million, she whispered. After taxes, about $32 million, give or take. Kenzo recovered first, his lawyer instincts kicking in. Mrs. Takahashi, this drastically changes your protection needs. Assets of this size require immediate expert guidance. Mom, Lonnie's voice trembled, why didn't you tell us sooner? I wanted to see how you'd treat me when you thought I was struggling, versus when you knew I had money. Funny how your concern for my competence surfaced once money was involved. Kenzo shuffled his papers nervously. Mrs. Takahashi, I understand this might feel overwhelming, but these assets need urgent protection. We're talking generational wealth. My generation seems to be doing fine, I said. Lonnie stood, her composure fraying. Mom, you can't seriously think you can handle this alone. Do you realize what kind of responsibility this is? I have some idea. I've managed my finances for 72 years. This is different, she snapped. This is life-altering money. One wrong move and you could lose it all. Kenzo nodded. Your daughter's right. Without proper management, wealth like this can vanish quickly, especially if the holder lacks experience with complex financial tools. I looked at them. A daughter who'd known me for decades and a stranger who'd known me for minutes, both convinced. I was too feeble to manage my own fortune. I need time to think this over, I said. Time is what you don't have, Kenzo urged. Every day, these assets are unprotected. They're at risk. Lonnie grabbed my hands. Mom, let us help. We just want what's best for you. After they left, I stared at Kenzo's business card, marked urgent. Call immediately, in red ink. My phone buzzed with a text from Hannah. Lonnie told me about the lottery. We need to meet as soon as possible. This changes everything. No kidding, Hannah. The next morning, I found Hannah in my kitchen, having let herself in with her old emergency key. "Mom, we need to talk now." I poured coffee, noting how she'd made herself at home. "Good morning to you, too." "Do you have any idea what you've done?" she said. "Telling people about this lottery win? By next week, every scammer and long-lost cousin within 50 miles will be at your door." "I told my family," I said. "I thought you'd be happy for me." "Happy?" Hannah laughed sharply. "Mom, you're a target now." "Maybe you should move to Florida sooner. That's the kind of thinking that proves you need oversight," she said, pulling out her phone. "I was up all night researching. Did you know 70% of lottery winners go bankrupt within 5 years?" "I'm not going bankrupt, Hannah." "How do you know? Have you ever managed $32 million? Do you understand tax shelters, investment portfolios, estate planning?" "I understand it's my money." "It's family money," she said. "This affects us all: Kimi's college fund, Sora's future, Lonnie's kids. You can't just run off to Florida like it's only about you." I set my coffee down carefully. "Are you saying my money belongs to the family?" "I'm saying you have responsibilities. To us, to your grandchildren. Money like this comes with obligations." She pulled out a folder I hadn't noticed. "I've booked meetings with 3 top-tier financial advisory firms this week, and I've made an appointment with Dr. Lynn for a cognitive assessment." "A cognitive assessment?" I stared at Hannah. "To establish baseline mental capacity," she said. "It's standard for managing large assets. Protects everyone. You want me to take a mental competency test?" "We want to protect you from regrettable decisions," she said. "Mom, you're talking about moving across the country, leaving your support network, making huge life changes. These are classic signs of poor judgment in elderly windfall recipients. Elderly windfall recipients. It's a known issue," she continued. "Sudden wealth syndrome. It can lead to erratic behavior, especially in seniors." My phone rang, Lonnie's name on the screen. "Put it on speaker," Hannah said. I answered normally. "Hello, sweetheart." "Mom, thank God you're there," Lonnie said. "I spoke to Kenzo last night, and he's worried about your exposure." "My exposure?" "Legal and financial exposure. People will come out of the woodwork. We need protective measures." Now Hannah leaned in. "Tell her about the guardianship option." My stomach twisted. "Guardianship?" "Just a precaution," Lonnie said quickly. "Kenzo said with assets this size, if there's any question about cognitive capacity, a court could appoint a stranger to manage your affairs. But voluntary guardianship with family keeps you in control. It means you're still in charge," Hannah added. "We'd just handle daily financials. You'd have full access to funds for your needs. And if I don't want guardianship?" Silence. Hannah's jaw tightened. "Mom," Lonnie's voice softened, "we're trying to protect you. Refusing reasonable measures could raise questions about your judgment." "What kind?" "The kind that lead to involuntary court proceedings," Hannah said flatly. "We're offering the family way, but if you're unreasonable—" She didn't finish. She didn't need to. That afternoon, my doorbell rang. It was Kimi, my 16-year-old granddaughter, tears in her eyes. "Grandma, is it true you're moving to Florida?" Behind her, Lonnie sat in her car, watching. "I'm considering it, sweetheart." "Why?" "Mom says if you move, we might not see you anymore. She says Florida's so far you might forget us." I knelt to her level. "Honey, I could never forget you. Florida's not another planet. There are planes, video calls, but Mom says it's not the same," Kimi sobbed. "She's been crying all morning, saying you're abandoning us." I glanced at Lonnie, orchestrating from her car. "Kimi, want some cookies inside?" "I can't. Mom says we have to go. But Grandma, please don't leave us. We need you." As they drove off, my phone buzzed with a text from Hannah. Kimi's just the first. Sora's asking questions too. Is this how you want to split the family? An hour later, my brother Soma called. Mira, what's this about Florida? Hannah called. Said you came into money and you're making rash choices. Good to hear from you too, Soma. Hannah's worried you're not thinking straight. Maybe listen to your daughters. Did she tell you how much I inherited? She said it's significant. Look, Mira, I know you're still grieving Kale, but running away isn't the answer. I'm not running. Then what is it? Hannah says you won't accept their help with this inheritance. That doesn't sound like the sensible sister I know. After hanging up, I saw their strategy. Eccentric widow, sudden wealth, erratic behavior, family concern. They were laying groundwork for a competency challenge. My phone rang again, Jiro Matsuda's number. Mrs. Takahashi, I hope it's okay I called. I had an odd conversation with a Kenzo Hayashi today. He was asking about the Yamada estate, verifying inheritance details. What details? The timeline of when you learned about it, whether there were signs of cognitive decline that might have influenced Aiko's decision to leave you assets. My heart sank. What did you say? I cited attorney-client privilege and declined to discuss your mental state. But he also asked about deadlines for transferring the Florida cottage, seemed keen on whether you're being pressured into quick decisions. Jiro, if someone wanted to challenge my competency, how would they do it? They'd need evidence of impaired judgment, medical records ideally, and family testimony about concerning behavior. Then they'd petition for guardianship. Emergency guardianship could be granted in 48 hours with evidence of immediate risk to you or your assets. I sat in my kitchen, calculating. It was Wednesday afternoon. If Hana and Lani filed for emergency guardianship, claiming I was about to flee to Florida with millions while showing cognitive decline, they could control my life by Friday. My phone buzzed with a text from Lani. Mom, we booked Dr. Lynn for a cognitive assessment tomorrow at 2 p.m. Please don't miss it. We're just trying to help. I looked around my kitchen, the heart of the home where I'd been happy for 45 years, now a battleground for control. Then I went upstairs, started packing, and called Jiro at 6 a.m. Thursday. Jiro, I need to get to Florida now. Can you meet me at the airport with the cottage deed papers? Mrs. Takahashi, what's wrong? My family's filing for emergency guardianship. I have maybe 24 hours before they take over my life. Dear God. Okay, I'll have the papers by noon. But are you sure? Once I'm a Florida resident, it complicates their guardianship plans, right? Exactly. It's harder across state lines. Then that's why I'm going. I'll deal with my house here later. Right now, I need a place they can't reach. I packed 2 suitcases with essentials and my key documents. As I loaded the last bag into my car, Mrs. Sato appeared. Mira, where are you going so early? I nearly broke down. This woman, who'd shown me more kindness than my own daughters. I have to leave, Suki. My family's trying to take control of my finances, saying I'm not competent. Her face hardened. Those ungrateful girls after all you've done. If they come looking, you don't know where I went. You have my word. She squeezed my hand. You call me when you're settled, Mrs. Sato said. Kenzo and I will worry. I will, I promised. Suki, thank you for everything. At the airport, Jiro was waiting with a thick folder. Everything's ready, he said. Cottage deed, utility transfers, voter registration. Sign these, and you're a Florida resident. As I signed, my phone buzzed relentlessly. Texts from Hana and Lani. Mom, where are you? You missed Doctor. Lynn's appointment. Your car's gone. Mom, we're worried. We'll call the police if you don't answer. Then a call from Hana. Mom, Where the hell are you? I'm fine, Hannah. Don't give me that. You skipped the appointment. Your car's not home. Mrs. Sato says she doesn't know where you are. I'm in Florida. Silence. Florida. Hannah's voice spiked. Mom, you can't just run off like this. I'm not running. I'm moving to my new cottage. This is the erratic behavior we're worried about. You can't make huge decisions on a whim. It's not a whim. I've planned this. We're filing the guardianship petition today. Lonnie cut in on speaker. Mom, you're clearly not rational. File what you want. I'm a Florida resident now. Good luck with jurisdiction. You can't hide from family, Hannah snapped. We'll fight this. Fight all you want. You'll do it without my money, while I'm living in my beach cottage making my own choices. Mom, please, Lonnie's voice broke. We love you. We're just trying to help. If you loved me, you'd have helped with $2,000. You'd have let me stay in your guest room when I was hurt. You didn't love me then. You love my money. Now I hung up and powered off my phone. 6 hours later, I sat on the back porch of Aiko's cottage, my cottage, watching the Gulf of Mexico glow golden in the sunset. My phone, still off, rested beside a glass of wine and the lottery ticket that sparked this journey. I'd tested my family and seen their true selves. I'd learned strangers could show more care than kin. I'd discovered I was stronger, braver than I'd thought. Above all, I'd realized money's greatest gift isn't a house, a car, or even security. Sometimes it's freedom. The freedom to walk away from those who see you as a burden to be managed, not a person to be respected. A knock came at the fence gate. Mrs. Takahashi? I'm Taro from next door. Welcome to the neighborhood. My wife made you some katsu curry for your first night. I smiled and waved him over. Please call me Mira. And thank you. That's so kind. As we talked about the area, the best markets, and the beachside walking paths, a feeling settled over me, one I hadn't felt in months. Peace. Not the weary peace after a battle, but the deep, quiet peace of being exactly where you belong.